of all women who are alive today are working.
Two-thirds?
Two-thirds. And so that suggests that most families today are moving towards the trend of 2 careers. So that means that this couple is fairly representative of other families where each couple is working a full 8-hour day at least, and then coming home to juggle other priorities, including household maintenance, child management. So which priorities are more important? Is it his job that is the primary job? Is it her job that is the primary job? When do the children's interests become important to consider? Right.
Or at what point does a particular issue or task receive priority in terms of the husband versus the wife? There may be some situations where you can forego certain priorities and others where you have to switch priorities.
Yes. Yeah, taking turns, I think, when we're talking about dual career families is extremely important, because if one person cannot have the podium to himself all the time, it's crucial to I believe, more effective family management.
I think what we're all saying there is one cannot be so self-absorbed as to not listen and empathize with what the other is going through. So you have to listen to what the kids have to do. This child has to have his homework done by tomorrow. You have to really pay attention to the mother, to the father, and as a system, really as a family, to be able to communicate and talk this out so that this kind of a scene doesn't occur. There are ways to prevent a scene like this from occurring. Perhaps better planning,
communication,
obviously. She could have called maybe before, or he could have called to tell her what the plan was.
If she saw, for example, that he was in a pattern of forgetting, she might have given a call to the office earlier to remind him that he had another obligation.
Right.
And even though it sounds very simplistic, scheduling and planning and using day timers, all of those gimmicks are extremely helpful to very busy families where not only the parents have schedules which preoccupy them, but the children now have schedules as well. They have soccer practice, they have cheerleading, they have basketball practice, they have debate club after school, and it's extremely important to sort of manage your family as you would a business in some ways.
Yes. Now,
one of the
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, one of the things that's really important in family management, and I think is often overlooked, I talked about child rearing and children earlier, and I want to dovetail off that, but children have responsibilities too, and you address that. If they're old enough, they know how to say 2 weeks in advance, I have a project to do, will you help me with it, and make sure that parents set aside time for that. The other thing is that children are very perceptive, and they can easily discern what our parent priorities are. They see that parents go to work and do work often at home. They see parents going out with their friends perhaps, or doing things that are exercising or whatever. And they realize that those are priorities in their parents' lives and often can't be interfered with. If they are not included in that list of priorities, that's going to cause an awful lot of problems. And the parents and children need to sit down and say, yes, you are a priority, and exclusive time, that means the time where parents give children their undivided attention, needs to be offered, or children are going to go along feeling that they're not a priority and not getting the deserved attention from their parent. But it can be reciprocal. It's not all parents kind of going out and doing things for the children, but children can initiate that also and take responsibility for the extracurricular or curricular activities that they have to do. They can initiate that also.
It's often when the children's needs aren't being met that there will be some problems that might come up for the children, not getting their homework done, being late, being disorganized, kind of wanting the parents to come into their lives too, and that's often a signal that something is wrong and that the family has to really be looked at as to why a particular child is acting out or why he's having trouble.
Summarizing this situation just a bit, this is interesting. My only qualifications to be in this chair are being a son, husband, and father. Is it true that, especially the mother and father in the scene we saw, when you first meet them in a counseling session, don't you have to break a whole list of habits before the construction can begin?
Well, you have to identify what the sources of the problem are to begin with, and you learn that as you interview this couple and you gather information from them. And then you find realistic ways to break the patterns. You can't change an individual's habits completely. You can't expect that to happen in counseling. But trying to understand each individual's personality and what his and her potential is in terms of possible change you look for ways that are realistic, that can be integrated into this family's lifestyle, that might perhaps even suggest bringing in an extra support system to help this mother who has clients that she must pick up on evenings when her husband has a scheduled meeting.
For example?
Well,
You said extra support
A
system.
support
like
system,
what?
a grandparent, a babysitter, a daycare situation, perhaps dropping the children off at someone else's home.
Now, this has been overlooked, I think. In fact, in the past, therapists have focused primarily on what you, the individual, can do with your family. And now we're beginning to recognize, hey, there's a whole array of support systems that could be used. And I wanted to point out here that the concept of the split-level family, that children are separate from parents, parents have their own agendas, children have children agendas, that does not have to remain the reality in America. It's being broken down now so that you can use more support systems, you can use grandparents, aunts, uncles to come in there and take over in these difficult situations. In a less difficult situation than this, this is where you could have the father himself taking the child to some work situation, and children can help out in work situations. I've had my own children in similar situations come and do Xeroxing for me in the office, other kinds of tasks, stuffing envelopes, and so on.
So you include them into
you can include
whatever
an
you're doing.
intergenerational family way of functioning.
I think the other thing that needs to be said is that in this fast-paced society, there is simply not enough time to do everything. And I think that's a concept that modern parents must learn to accept today. You cannot do it all. And if you communicate that to your family, to your children, perhaps they won't feel as disappointed when you have to give something up.
Speaking of time, if we're going to get through everything we'd like to talk about in an hour, you know, if you're sitting at home right now and saying, oh, come on, don't stop now, that is why we have our group of counselors over in the adjacent studio who are ready to talk to you. Perhaps that we have generated an idea, and perhaps we have caused you to say, yeah, that's exactly what's happening here in our house. Remember, the counselors in the other studio who are waiting to hear from you are not there for crisis situations. They're there just to talk, as we are. The phone number is 459-2525. And if you are bashful, we'll also later on give you the address for the brochure we have, 459-2525. Now, at the introduction of the program, Boaz especially was talking about older parents and the role they play in our lives. For want of a better term, we come up with sandwich generation. As the general age of the population grows older, we find that not only are we responsible for ourselves as a married couple and for our children, but also for our parents. And the next vignette that we have chosen our actors and actresses to work on involves considerations for our parents. Let's go to that tape now. This one will be a bit more serious.
The doctor said it was just a minor stroke, so we're real hopeful. Yeah. No, I really do appreciate you calling. I know. Everything's going to be all right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I wish everything would be all right, but I'm not so sure.
What are you talking about? The doctor said that it was just a minor stroke. Mom's going to be all right.
Yeah, your mom's going to be all right, but I was talking about us.
What do you mean?
Well, you heard the doctor, Mary. Your mom's not going to be able to take care of herself anymore. She's going to need some help, and it seems to me what we've got to figure out now is, what are we going to do?
Oh, she's going to come here. We can take care of her here.
Honey, are you sure you've thought this thing through? I mean, why wouldn't the best solution for your mom right now be a nursing home?
A nursing home? How could you even say that? I can't believe you said that. I thought you liked my mother.
I do like your mom. Your mom and I have always gotten along very, very well. But I have to believe one of the reasons we gotten along so well is we don't live together.
Well, this is the very time that my mom needs me the most. And I've got to be there for her.
Mary...
Look, I'm the only daughter. It stands to reason that she'd feel more comfortable in my home.
Do you remember when my mom took in my grandmother? Years and years of extended care, getting more and more involved all the time. I'm firmly convinced that went a long way in breaking my mom's health.
But I'm 20 years younger than your mom was then.
Mary, we don't even have facilities here. We're not on one floor. You're going to be up and down those stairs 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, every day.
We have a 3-bedroom home. And maybe it was a bad idea that the kids have separate rooms. Maybe it's just time to postpone that a little bit. Sure, Mom can have the 3rd bedroom, and we can get a hospital bed in it, and bring her television from home and some of her other things, and I can carry her meals up to her all the time, and it really won't be any problem. In fact, having her upstairs will be better because the kids won't be there so much to be on her nerves, I guess, and then, sure, they can have their friends over.
Sometimes your mom has been very tough on the guys, and there's no reason to suspect that's going to get better now. I think it's going to get worse. All I'm asking you is to consider all the different possibilities here. You know, what about your mom's cigarette habit?
Well, there are some things that we're just going to maybe have to overlook. Just like there are some things that maybe Mom's going to have to get used to in our house.
You know, maybe this is a dumb thing to bring up, but we've already got this year's vacation already set and paid for. What are we going to do with simple things like vacations? That's important to me, and you too.
We could postpone it just a little while.
Postpone.
Until she's feeling a little better, and then we could maybe get my brothers to help out, you know, pitch in a little bit.
Yeah. You know, I'm concerned that you're getting some sort of fantasy support group all set up here and that you're going to unilaterally take some sort of action, and then if people don't come through for you when you think they should and how they should, you're going to be real resentful.
Look, Gene, my mom doesn't have a lot of money. I'm trying to be real practical here. And good nursing homes cost a lot of money. No, a nursing home. I can't even think the thought. Forget about it. I can't picture Mom there. She'd never be happy there. I just have these terrible visions of over-medicated patients and people tied down to wheelchairs, and no, not for Mom. She'd never forgive me.
There's got to be a ton of people in the same boat as your mom. I can't believe anybody plans for something like this. There's got to be aid and programs and things. We've got to be able to look those things out. I think we should look at all the options. We look at bringing her in here, and we also look at putting her in a nursing home where she's around her peers and where she could have medical supervision round the clock.
Well, married or not, I think that each one of us either has been touched by this special event or will be at one time or another. Dr. Boaz Kahana is director of the Center on Aging at Cleveland State, and I guess this time we're going to draw on one of our people specifically because this is in a special area of expertise for you, Boaz. Is there guilt happening in what we just saw?
Oh, yes. There's no question guilt. The question is, to what extent is that guilt based in reality? To what extent is that guilt just sort of a dynamic issue that has to be worked through? But I'd like to back up a bit. If that husband is as dead set about the possibility of the mother coming and living with them, then there's no question there'll be problems in that family. Perhaps some of his reservations have to do with the experience he had watching an older person in his home going and declining. We've done research in this area. We have found that people who as children have had negative experiences with elderly people, seen an elderly person decline, those individuals have generally much more negative attitudes towards the elderly than adults who as children have had positive relationships with older people. This makes sense, and it's been empirically demonstrated as well. There are a number of options that could be used here. One could take the try it, you'll like it option, where the mother could be brought into the home, but this would require that the home be re-engineered for her use. In terms of the support figures who could be used from within the family, grandchildren can oftentimes be helpful to the older person if the grandchild is mature enough and in one's teens and a stable teenager, that is, or even age 12 and above, could be very helpful to help remove the burden from the woman in the middle, as we describe. Secondly, if they have to go on vacation, there is something called respite care, where some of the better homes for the aged will allow the individual to come and spend a weekend or perhaps a week or more in that facility so that these people can go on vacation. So it really depends on the desire of the husband in this case to look openly at the situation and to be flexible. Exactly.
I once heard someone say that one mother can take care of 10 children, but 10 children can't take care of one mother and somehow can't agree on how to do this. So I think the commitment has to be there, and I very much like what Boaz just said in terms of if the child, or in this case was obviously the parent in the scene, had a good experience with their own parent, they are more apt to take that parent into the home and take care of them.
Yeah,
really
as-
has to do a lot with nurturing experiences from early on.
Yeah, as Mark